Howdy folks, sorry I hadn't been on in several weeks. I meant to do an update video, but whenever I think about it, it was a bad time, and whenever I had the time, I didn't think about it. So I just never did, and I apologize about that. So I think the last video I posted would have been second week of December. Well, just kind of give you a brief rundown on what had happened. Look at this idiot. My son, 9 years old, gifted me with a full speed running tackle right to the stomach. So I ended up leaving work early one night. I believe it was on the 10th, and I was having some pretty nasty pains when I was moving, specifically bending up and down. The medical department at work said we can either give you Pepto-Bismol or send you to the urgent care, and I'm like, well, this ain't a Pepto kind of thing. Hang on. So they said, well, you need to go to an urgent care then. So I went to an urgent care. They said, you need to go to the ER. So I went to the ER. And they did a little bit of poking around, ran labs and whatnot. They did do a CT scan. And essentially, I forget what exactly he called it, but essentially my son bruised my intestines when he hit me. And he's like, you'll be fine, you'll be sore for a couple days, this kind of stuff happens, here's kind of the process, here's what you need to do, take an extra day off if you need to. So I wasn't planning on taking the next day off. I wanted to work coming up to Christmas, a little bit of extra. Every bit of money helps around Christmas time when you got a mess of kids. So I wasn't planning on taking off, but I woke up and tried to put my pants on, and I'm like, nope, this hurts. I ain't gonna do this all night. So I called in that Friday. Well, that Saturday, my wife woke up feeling terrible. So she goes and gets a COVID test. And Monday or early Tuesday, it came back in positive. I think it was Monday. Well, my work won't let me work because I've been around her and she's got a positive COVID test. My mother went and got tested later that week. She had it. My mother lives with us, for those of you that don't know. I wasn't worried about my wife. I was a little worried about my mother because she's in her 60s and she is diabetic. I am also I was like that much concerned about my daughter, who has asthma at 12. And my wife came out of it fine, like 4 days of feeling really lousy, just, from the couch to the bed, to the couch, take a nap, watching TV, back to the bed. And she had some stomach issues associated with it. So overall, not a huge deal. My mom felt worse longer. And at one point, she was feeling so bad, she's like, you need to take me to the emergency room, I need to find out what's going on. Thankfully, she was just feeling lousy. Like, all of her vitals were fine. They did do a chest x-ray, make sure she wasn't developing COVID pneumonia. So she's okay. My daughter was having a few small issues with her breathing, the one with asthma, so we took her to the pediatrician. They ran a COVID test. She was good. They said that it was likely just another normal wintertime bug running around, and if it didn't improve in a couple days to come back, she was fine. So could stay away from her, but indirect exposure was a thing because we've got a 5-year-old in the house who doesn't understand social distancing and germs. Aside from deciding that she wants to spray half a can of Lysol fabric spray on the couch after Mom was there because it looked fun to do. So, like, she would go up and hug her mom and then come hug me and hug everybody else. So, like, it's, you know, like, I stayed away from her for a couple days, but after a while I realized, like, you know, my daughter's been hugging all over my wife, I've been hugging all over my daughter. This is pointless and stupid. So the weird thing is I never caught it, and I was tested multiple times. I never caught COVID. Now, I didn't do the antigen test that will tell you if you've ever had it, but the nasal swabs that they did 2 rapid tests and one that's the send-off to the lab that's more accurate. I never had it, according to those. So that was a little odd, I thought. I did have some stomach problems, but the doctor said that could have been just due to stress because, you know, not being able to work and potentially having COVID. So the running joke was that COVID looked at me and did the same thing that all the girls in high school did. Well, anyway, that's kind of... Oh, the other thing that happened is right before I left out of work on medical and COVID, the Focus broke. So we couldn't hack a 60-mile commute with a 2-year-old car. Had to get in something 16 to handle this. It's getting a transmission. Hopefully I'm able to pick it up next week. I'm hoping. Really, really hoping. Because this thing's thirsty. And it takes bringing it down. I did do something interesting. We had planned on some family from out of town in the Atlanta area coming up to visit for Christmas. And with COVID, I think we got out of quarantine like the 28th, 29th-ish, based on when my wife got her test result. So, where it gets real funny is his family, they couldn't come up because they're expecting and all that, so they didn't get to come up, and then some things came up where they couldn't come up for New Year's because that was kind of the plan, like, okay, well, we'll get out of quarantine, you know, right after Christmas, so why don't you just come for New Year's, stay a couple days. Well, some things happened where they couldn't. And I told my wife, I'm like, hey, you know, it's, you know, not a huge drive from where we live. We're in central Kentucky. I'm like, you know, I could be down there and back in a day. Why don't I just go pick them up? It's my wife's sister. And we hadn't seen her in a while, and so, like, I'd been talking back and forth with her because my wife cannot take her phone even into the building at work, so it has to stay in her car. So I'm like, hey, look, I'll just go pick her up, if that's okay with you. So basically I did. And I cannonballed 700 miles in 14 hours. I know that's not, like, impressive, but I did stop, get out of the car, go into a restaurant and eat. I stopped, got out of the car, went in and visited with her and her boyfriend for a few minutes before I got her bags loaded. I had 2 kids with me in the car. I got caught in a traffic jam on the way down, and I was battling some decent rain when I left the state of Kentucky, so I couldn't make any serious time, but I was rather proud of myself to handle that in 14 hours. But anyway, they got to come up, they visited from New Year's till Monday this week, so what, the 4th, I think is what it was? Yeah. And had just a grand time, got to visit, hang out, catch up. She's expecting, she's excited. My wife bought some baby clothes for her. Had a big old time. What else happened? Oh, I bought the kids a Project Go-Kart for Christmas. I fixed it up. The chain popped off. I didn't have it quite snug enough and shredded the belt, but up until that happened, they loved it. Is that? Yeah. And I got new belts in the car for it. I ordered them off the internet, and we'll be putting that back together this weekend. But them out in one of the pastures that they can kind of do laps around and have some fun. So anyway, I'm going to do a little bit more recording tonight, but I figure this is as good a stopping point as any, just to kind of give you all a update on where I've been for the past few weeks, and what's been going on. Last thing, and then I'm done, I promise. This Christmas was weird. Really weird. Like, okay, my wife and I, we built our house with a decent setup to entertain. So, with one exception, whenever there's like a family event or family holiday, we end up entertaining it. Hosting might be the term, but everybody comes over to our house for family stuff. Unless it's her grandmother, and then she hosts, and we'll have something separate with my side of the family. Well, so absolutely nobody came over for Christmas because we were still in the tail end of our quarantine. Also, my wife and I are very much last-minute cram shoppers. It's not outside the ordinary for her and I to be Christmas shopping after the 20th of December. Always have been since we got together. And it's weird because money doesn't really factor into that. Like the years where things are good, you know, there's money in the bank, we still put it off to the last minute because we enjoy doing it together. And different schedules. The years where things are tight, wait down the last minute, get all the money together we can to go Christmas shopping. Well, anyway, so due to the fact that she got quarantined on the 13th, 14th, I think, and we procrastinate all of our Christmas, with the exception of the go-kart for the kids, came off the internet. So my mother, only thing she wanted was dinner at a nice sit-down restaurant, and so we went out and, like, if it's on the menu and you want it, order it. We're going to stuff ourselves and get to-go boxes and feel bad about this later. But we had an absolute blast. We went out to Texas Roadhouse and ate steak and potatoes and their cactus blossom, I think is what it's called, and just absolutely had a blast eating out with the family. So anyway, but yeah, so Christmas was just really weird, and then like a couple days after Christmas, we're out of quarantine, people can come over and visit, and we had a really good time getting to visit with people. My brother-in-law that moved down from New York a few years back, he brought one of his family traditions with him of New Year's Day making homemade ice cream and custard, and it's delicious. They've got the ice cream churn, or he's got ice cream churns and everything that you need, and we ate ice cream, like 5 different flavors of it, I think. I didn't try all of them, but I know that they're all delicious. It's just some of them sound better to me than others, so I'm going to make myself sick on those. Chocolate, mint, lemon, there was a maple and a vanilla, I think is all the flavors that he brought. But it's delicious, and there's always kind of a potluck there, so we had some, you know, standard kind of country veggies, and then he does like pulled pork sandwiches, but instead of pork he uses deer neck roast, and it was amazing. So we ate good, got to hang out with family. Some of my wife's friends came down. Just had a good time. Got to see some family on her side that I haven't seen in over a year because of a divorce. So her sister and her brother-in-law have been split up for right at a year, and that was the last time I'd seen her, was the day before or day after he found out he was getting a divorce, and Aside from that, it's just been like Facebook due to work schedule differences and conflicts. So it was good to get to see her. She's got a boyfriend. I think I like him based on, you know, 2.5 hours of hanging out with him and getting to chat. I think I like him. But had a good New Year's and just a weird Christmas. So anyway, that's what I got for right now. I am going to record another video and post it up. Just kind of thoughts about some things going on presently. But I'm done for now. Catch y'all next time. Thanks for tuning in.